Good morning, everyone. I'm running a little bit late, so bear with me while I get some stuff together. I was gonna try to do Instagram live too, but we'll see if I can get this going. I need some better technology here. Good morning, Grandma. All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Meal Prep with Megan. I don't know if I have that many people joining me live today, but I know that we are gonna have quite a few joining later to prep their meals because it's a nice day, so they're all outside. But I'm gonna try and get through this quickly so I can go outside. So today we are making vegan enchilada casserole, and then we are gonna make firecracker chickpea meatballs. That's more for our dinner this week. And then next we're making banana bread energy balls for our snack for the week. A little something sweet. Last week we did salty, so going a little sweet. All right, so I didn't prepare for you guys as well, so we are gonna start cutting our veggies since I did not cut my veggies early for you guys. And I'm gonna be using a food processor, so if you have any food chopper or anything, feel free to use that. But we're gonna get the food processor out while I drop everything. So I really like the food processor. It's really easy to use once you watch a YouTube video or two. So first things first, onions. Bear with me while I try not to cry here. So this week it's 1 yellow onion for our vegan enchilada casserole and 2 red onions for our firecracker meatballs. So I'm gonna get this yellow onion going first. So start dicing it. Since I haven't done this in a while, I'll show you how we cut onions. So we cut the ends off first. Get the trash ready to throw away all that. And then once I cut the ends off, I cut it in half and then pull off all the exterior skin that you do not want to eat. All right, since I'm doing a food processor, I'm just chopping it into large pieces so I can just chop them fairly quickly here. Don't mind me if I start crying on here. All right, and then the food processor, just drop it in there. And then, I think I dropped a piece of my food processor. Oh no, it's over here. We have some safety measures, so we have that in there. And then I just pulse normally, so I just press the pulse button here so you guys can all see it. And that is good enough for me. So quick and easy to cut. I'm also gonna probably a veggie cutter too, a little cheaper, but I do like the food processor. It makes some good desserts too, good bars. It's an easy way to mix any of these energy balls and anything you get. So I don't mind mixing my onions, so I'm gonna not clean my food processor out. I'm gonna get the red onions started here. My nose is already running from it. So chop off the ends. Half. Same to the other one. my sunglasses. Peel off what you don't want. Woo, these are some strong onions this morning. All right, again, I'm just chopping into big pieces for the food processor, but you should be dicing your onions into small pieces. So 2 red and 1 yellow, and that's for 2 people meal prepping. So if you're only prepping for 1, it's 1 onion of each. All right, so I'm gonna throw these in my food processor. I'm gonna rinse my hands off here. This will not touch my eyes. All right, so we've got it in the food processor. Just like a blender, shut the lids. And pulse. All right, just crying over here. All right, so easy as that when we've got our diced onion. I'm gonna grab another bowl. Dump it all in there. All right, next veggies are the, let's see, we've got 1 red bell pepper, 1 green bell pepper, and some jalapenos. So I'm gonna grab that for us. All right. I'm gonna also use the food processor to dice these too. So if you have a veggie cutter, oof, that onion. Then feel free to start using your veggie cutter or however you normally cut your veggies. So with my food processor, I just cut it into big chunks before I stick them in there. I'm gonna have to move these onions away for now. Whew. So I'm gonna just cut these into big pieces. But we do want them diced. Pretty big pieces here that you can see for a food processor. Rinsed out my food processor here. Make sure you get the blade in, and then I'm just going to throw in the big chunks here. And there are dicing mechanisms on here I would use. It takes a little bit longer. I just quickly pulse it, so it's a little faster. So just click the pulse button. You know, chopped up. You don't want to go too much with red bell pepper because they've got a lot of water in them, so they will get a little too liquefied. So you can see I just did both mine together because we're going to be mixing it all within the same recipe. So I'm going to grab another bowl here, dump that in. Make sure you take the blade out before you start dumping. Got that. And then I'm just gonna dice the jalapeno here quickly with a knife, a little quicker. You don't have to put the jalapeno in if you don't like spicy things. The sauce does have jalapeno in it, so you could probably put that bell pepper in it instead of jalapeno if you don't want it as spicy, or just really skip the jalapeno altogether. It all depends on how you like your jalapeno cut. You could do whole pieces. For the sauce, we'll also need another jalapeno, so get that second one out too and get it chopped up. So this jalapeno is gonna go with the mixture, so I'm just gonna put it in the bowl with my red bell pepper and green bell pepper. So I'm grabbing my other jalapeno, and this one is gonna go with the sauce. So you don't have to dice it as finely because we are gonna be blending the sauce together. Just gonna cut them a little bit, but not too much. All right, good enough. We'll leave that here for our sauce. Push that away for now. And so while we're at it, let's preheat our oven to 350 to get going on our enchiladas. So go over and get it preheated. Haven't had my coffee this morning, so I'll be drinking this while prepping. All right. So the first thing we're gonna do is prepare that jalapeno sauce. It's really, really good. So I'm gonna get my blender out preemptively here. Hi, Megan. I'm also on Instagram Live if you want. So I just now noticed, sorry, I've been focusing on my Facebook Live. Yes, we're making enchiladas right now first. All right, so let's look at a medium-sized pan. Doesn't have to be too big because we're just really putting onion and jalapeno in there. So I'm gonna go grab a smaller pan here. It could be just a regular size pan. And then we're gonna put on medium-high heat, so like 7, 8 out of 10. And then we're gonna get our oil, onion, garlic, and spices ready. So the spices are cumin and chili powder, and then salt and pepper. So get your cumin, chili powder. All right, so I've got my spices. I'm gonna go put it by my pan. And the oil, or butter, any butter, oil, whatever you want to use, apple cider vinegar, anything really works to cook. All right, so also I use already minced garlic because I'm lazy, although someday maybe I'll use some real garlic. So I'm gonna get my minced garlic ready. So if you haven't got your garlic ready, press your garlic, get your garlic ready. All right, so sorry, Megan, you're gonna stay over there on Instagram Live, but I'm gonna bring you guys a little bit closer to the stove here. So get your oil. I'll move this out of the way for you guys. Get your oil on the pan. We're gonna let it heat up for just a few minutes here while we get our stuff ready. So I'm gonna get some measuring. And bring that over here in a second. All right, so we're gonna add a little bit of onion, some jalapeno. So we're gonna do some of the red onion that we just chopped up. So about 1/4 cup of red onion in here. And you know me, if you're watching my videos, I am really bad at measuring. So I just kind of eyeball a 1/4 cup, probably a little bit more. So 1/4 cup of that. I'm gonna go over and get my jalapeno that I just cut. So 1 whole jalapeno. We're gonna throw it in here too. Grab a spatula if you haven't gotten one. So let's mix those two around first. then, how much garlic did I tell you all? 2 tablespoons or 2 cloves. So, again, I just do 2 kind of spoonfuls, 2 tablespoons of minced garlic in here. Get that mixed around. And then I might have given you the wrong spices here. Let's see. It's just salt and pepper. So the other spices are for our whole mixture. So just add some salt and pepper in here now. Just like a pinch, a little, however much you want. And then we're going to let it cook on here for about 5 to 7 minutes. We want it to get really soft so that we can blend it together into the jalapeno sauce. So, the next thing you need to get ready for the sauce is the cream cheese. So you can either use regular cream cheese or you can use vegan cream cheese. I have vegan cream cheese or dairy-free somewhere in my fridge. So I just really try to find dairy-free cream cheese for myself. So let's get that open, get your cream cheese ready. And so I think I said 8 ounces of cream cheese. So if you got cream cheese in a bar, pretty much just a whole bar of cream cheese, and this whole thing's 8 ounces. So your cream cheese ready. And then while we're letting this cook for about 5 minutes, get your bundle of cilantro together. So I'll bring you guys back over here. So get your cilantro out. All right, we are blending it, so I just mostly pull off the leaves of the cilantro whole. Just kind of make a little pile here. And so how much cilantro did I say for you guys? About half a bunch. So take about half your bunch here, split it in half, and then just start ripping off the cilantro for you. If you want, you can kind of rip it with your fingers a little bit more, depending on how good your blender is. We have a decent blender, so it'll chop up most of this pretty well. And so if you've already done this, oh, there is cumin in here. I forgot. Not as prepared this morning as per usual, so I'm gonna go put a tablespoon of cumin in my mixture over here. And you don't want it to be turning too black around the edges, so if it's getting really sticky, add a little more oil. Or turn it down just a little bit. So mine's a little hot. I'm going to turn it to about 6 out of 10. So it looks like it might need a little more oil. Try and keep pulling off your cilantro here. And honestly, I get lazy sometimes and don't quite pull off the whole stem. So again, this is being blended, so the stem won't hurt you. Unless you don't have a good blender, then that gets a little tougher. So keep pulling off. Usually I try to do some of this on Friday night or Saturday if I'm prepping Sunday, or I just try to do it a little bit early so it's faster to fully prep. This week I did not get to it. All right, and you can always add more cilantro if you really like cilantro. The sauce is really your recipe, how much you want in it. All right, so I've got about maybe a 1/4 cup of cilantro here, you can see. So I'm gonna stop with that. And so our sauce over there might be pretty ready. So it's been about maybe 5 minutes, but it cooks pretty fast on my gas stove here, so you can tell it's pretty soft. You want it to be soft, and mine got a little caramelized, but that is a-okay. So now it's time to add the cream cheese. So I'm just gonna make sure 8 ounces of cream cheese here. Yep. And so we're gonna put the whole cream cheese in here, whole 8 ounces, and probably cook it for only maybe a minute here. I'm trying to get it really mixed together well. It's hard to mix together, really kind of crush it around. Here's what mine looks like. If you get like a square, you'll probably have to chop it up a little bit more. You really just want to get it all mixed in there. It'll kind of be one big blob, depending on your cream cheese. Vegan cream cheese is probably a little different consistency than regular cream cheese. All right. I'm going to turn off my heat for now, let the pan go there for a second. So get your blenders ready. All right, so then go grab your pan from over there. We're just going to, as I spill on the ground, we're just going to dump this into the blender. Food processor, whatever you have. And then we're going to put the cilantro that you just did, just throw it all in there. And then next, we'll get some good measurements here for you guys. And then we're gonna add about a 1/4 cup of water. So I'll get my measuring cups for you guys. So a 1/4 cup. Right in there. And then we're pretty much just gonna blend it all together here and see what it looks like. Do about a medium here for sort of food chop if you have that on yours. So it looks pretty saucy, so grab a spoon over here, see what it looks like. So it's pretty good, it's pretty saucy here. It's a little thick, so depending on how, you don't want it to be too runny because this is going on top and within it, and you don't want it to all go to the bottom. So I'm just gonna add a little bit more water, maybe like 1/8 of a cup, so about half of my 1/4. I'm gonna blend it a little bit more. A lot better. It's a little more saucy, and there you can see it just kind of runs off, but not too runny, right? You want it just a nice sauce consistency there, and feel free to taste test it. So very good. Not too spicy. I didn't get a little spice, but I didn't get too spicy of a jalapeno, I think. All right, so we're done with the sauce. Good to go. And I heard the oven's ready over there, so I'm gonna get this blender out of the way for now. And then we're gonna get everything else ready here. We are going to get all the onions, the bell pepper, the jalapeno. So this is the yellow onion. So I'm gonna grab over here the yellow onion. I've got my mixture of bell pepper, so 1 red, 1 green, and then my jalapeno is also in there. And you can leave out the jalapeno if it's too spicy for you. It'll still taste delicious. Do other peppers if you want. So we're gonna get that all together, and then get our spices. So the cumin and the chili powder go in this one. And I'm gonna get a big pan this time. So I like to use our big frying pans here. So use a big one. You might have to use two smaller ones if you're prepping for 2 people, but we have a nice big one that we use. So I'm gonna put it on medium-high heat again, about 6 or 7 out of 10. And then I'm gonna get my oil over here, and I'm gonna put about 2 tablespoons of oil on here and let it heat up. So while we let the oil heat up just a little bit, we're gonna get our cans out. So 2 black bean cans, 1 corn, and 1 refried bean. And if you're doing it for 1 person, it's just 1 can of each. So black, refried beans, and corn. All right, so I got my cans, so get those open. You can always make black beans too. Instead of buying the canned version, you can buy the dried beans. We like to make them in the Instant Pot. You can make them in a regular pot. You know, if you make them in a regular pot, I feel like they take probably 6 hours or longer. You have to soak them and everything, but I really love making beans in the Instant Pot. You can put the dried beans straight in there with some broth and some seasonings and onion and garlic, and then just let it go for about an hour. Don't have to do anything, and then they're really, really good. Much better than the canned beans. All right, so with all my cans open, they didn't have any small refried bean cans, so we have a big one, so maybe a little too much this week. So, all right, and so let's start putting the veggies on our pan. So I'm gonna put the whole yellow onion on there, all of these veggies, and then I'm gonna put the seasoning. So do the red onion or yellow onion first. You want all of it, the whole yellow onion, and then all of your all of your pepper mixture here. And then to get our measurements right for you guys, let me see. It's a teaspoon of cumin and a teaspoon of chili powder. And I'm just a big fan of kind of sprinkling around how much you want. So either you can do a teaspoon or just guesstimate here. And then cumin, teaspoon. And then I'm just gonna put a little pinch of salt and some pepper. Going to rinse off. Rinse off my spatula, and then I'm just gonna mix it all together. Spread it out evenly on the pan. Get a nice mixture in there. I'm gonna let it cook there for a second while we then rinse our beans. So I'm gonna first do the black beans. Again, I like to look at the back of my cans like I talk about every time and look for include 0 grams of added sugar. And actually I think we had to get the big can because only the big can of refried beans had 0 grams of added sugar. So that's something we really focus on when we go grocery shopping, looking at the back and making sure there's no added sugar. So get your colanders now, and we're gonna rinse the black beans first. All right, so I just throw them in the colander and then just rinse them out until I kind of see the water running clear through them. So I'm not gonna bring you guys over, but go ahead and do this now. It helps with the sodium. All right, so they're running water pretty clear underneath, and then I just dump the corn on top since it's all gonna be mixed together and rinse it just a little bit. Rinsing that really helps get the sodium out that they put to preserve everything in there. So still a lot of sodium, but what can we do? All right, so I'm gonna mix this around a little bit more. Looks really good. So here's what mine looks like. It's a little red from the chili powder, but we're gonna want it to cook a little bit longer on the stove top here. We want to get the vegetables a little bit soft, not too soft though, because as I talked when we prep, we do microwave everything again, so everything gets recooked pretty much. So we don't want it to be too soft. Just depends on how you like your veggies. All right, so while that's going, let's get our refried beans going. So get your cans open. We got a really big can today, so I'm gonna get a bowl out. And you want to get your refried beans out of the can into a bowl. And they're pretty tough, you know, to get out. So you want a spoon. Probably shouldn't use this whole can, but. All right, and then with hopefully your smaller can, you want to add, let's see, I think it's 2 tablespoons of water. Yeah, about 2 tablespoons of water. So I'm just going to run it under the sink for about 2 tablespoons. I don't think I got a big enough bowl, but something with that water, you really just want to mix it to make it a little more runny mixture instead of so thick. Because we want to be able to mix it with our enchilada casserole. So you want to mix that water in there. I'm probably going to need more than 2 tablespoons since I had a huge can. I didn't even use the whole can. All right, you want it a little more runnier than this, so I'm gonna put maybe another tablespoon in. That water mix. If your stuff's getting too hot over there, keep watching or listening to your pan at least. You don't want it to start sticking to the pan, so add some more oil, butter, whatever you use. All right, so we got a pretty good mixture here. You can see it's not too watery, but it's better than that thick mixture we had when we first opened the can. So yeah, that's good. 2 tablespoons should work for a regular can. So all right, so pretty much got all our mixtures together. The veggie mix is cooking over here. And cook it how long you want. I'm probably going to go about 5 minutes, but if you like your veggies a little more hard, you take it off now. Just turn the heat off. If you want it softer, leave it on a little bit longer than me. So, all right, next piece is to let's get the rest of our ingredients. So you do need the green enchilada sauce. So either 2 small cans if you're doing it for 2 people, 1 small can for 1 person, or if you got a big can of green enchilada sauce. So we got this nice big can of green enchilada sauce for us two here. So I'm gonna get that open to get it ready. And then also you'll need to get your corn tortillas out. So I'm gonna go grab those now too. Just stir my mixture a little bit too. Got my corn tortillas. So I recommend getting corn tortillas or whole wheat tortillas. It's just a lot better for you to have that whole wheat and not that processed wheat. So much better for you. All right, now we're gonna get a big baking dish. So probably a normal sized, not too big, 9 by 11, I think is the normal size. too many. 9 by 11. We also have a really big one, but I think I'm just gonna use a 9 by 11 baking dish here. So check your veggies. Mine are looking pretty soft, so I'm just gonna turn the heat off. And I'm just gonna leave them on there, help them cook just a little bit more while we're starting to make this first. So first thing, I'm gonna open my tortillas too, kind of prepare your whole scene here. So I'm gonna get my tortillas out here, put them over here, move some stuff out of the way. It's always hard to prep. Stuff gets everywhere. It's not a real prep if you don't have a complete mess in your kitchen. All right, and then I'm gonna grab another bowl, or a bowl I've already used, and I'm going to dump my mixture from the black beans and the corn that should be in your sink still. So I'm just gonna dump it into a bowl. Nice and pretty colors. I'm just gonna mix together the corn and the beans so we get a good mixture here. You can use a spoon. Use my hands because we are gonna be baking this for a while. All right, so we've got our bean mixture here. We have the refried bean mixture. And then we've got our veggies over here. So I'm gonna bring my veggies a little bit closer to the baking dish. All right, so I got the veggies. Spoon out the veggies. All right, so I'm gonna follow my instructions because I feel like I always do this differently every time. So I'll follow the instructions that I gave you guys. So in your baking dish, we're gonna add about a half cup of enchilada sauce. And I don't measure, so I'm just gonna kind of make sure I have a nice layer on the bottom. So I'm gonna put it down there, and then I just kind of like lift it up, spread the enchilada sauce to get it all around. So you got a nice layer of enchilada sauce on the bottom here. All right, next I tell you that we're gonna layer tortillas on the bottom. It looks like I said 4. It really depends on how many tortillas you got and how spread out you want. So you can do 4 just straight on the bottom, but I think I'm gonna do 6. I might have to change my recipe I sent. I think the 6 is better when you overlap, but you might not have enough tortillas to do this. So test out with what you want, but I like to have a whole layer on the bottom here of tortillas. So then next, we're gonna add a layer of this corn bean mixture. So we're about to have like 2 layers. So you wanna use half of everything. So I'm gonna take about half of this corn and black bean mixture and just kind of try to spread it evenly around here. That looks like about half. And so again, I just use my hands, but you could use spoons, whatever you need to use. I just spread it around evenly, get a nice layer on there. So that's what it looks like. And then, what did I tell you guys to do next? Was the refried bean mixture. So I take about half of this. Mine is a lot bigger than yours probably. And I just put about half, and I try to do dollops all around. It's a little harder to spread the refried bean mixture, but put about half of it in here. It does smell really good. Could go for a nice Mexican breakfast. And then, so I just kind of use my spoon to try and spread it around. It's pretty hard. The beans and the corn get stuck, and it's okay to mix the beans and the corn. You do want them to mix together. So I just spread it around the top here. Get a good layer. Doesn't have to be perfect. You'll never notice. It'll move around while it bakes. All right, so here's what mine looks like. Nothing perfect, just spread out there. All right, and then I do half the veggie mixture. Just gonna see how much I have here, and then just estimate half, try and spread it around. I'm just gonna move it all around. My spoon here too, try and spread it out evenly with everything. And then I think we do the half a cup of enchilada sauce. So another half cup of enchilada sauce. I just like to kind of spread it around again. And I estimate you can always get your half cup out, make it a little bit easier. And then we use the spoon again and kind of spread the sauce out. Get it all in there. You could use red sauce. The green sauce just goes really nicely with the jalapeno sauce we made. So up to you guys. All right. Make sure I'm not missing anything. All right, so now more corn tortillas on top. So again, if you don't have enough, I bought 24 on accident this week, so I have plenty. But if you only did buy 12, like I said, put 4 on top, evenly out, but I'm gonna do 6 on the top and kind of make it look like this. You might have bought bigger tortillas too if you got the whole wheat one, so you might really only need 4, or bigger corn ones, but my corn ones are a little small this week. All right, so pretty much we're gonna do the same thing again. We're gonna do the rest of the corn and bean mixture here. I have this inkling I forgot and I do this every time I make this. I forget the jalapeno mixture. Let me see where I was supposed to put that. All right, well, we'll just play it as we go here. All right, so I got my black bean and corn on here. Again, spread it out. Use whatever you want with your hands. And then use the other half of your refried bean mix. Ooh, it's gonna be a lot of refried beans, but we'll do it. And then again, it's hard to spread this one around, so really just, you're gonna mix it with the corn and the beans and try to mix it in there. It does smell really good. Drop in some beans. All right, once it's fairly decently spread, you're good. I try to get sometimes the corn and the beans go to the outside, so try to bring some back in the middle. All right, so it looks pretty good. We spread out, and then we add the rest of the veggies on top. Spread those around. And then we're going to do another half cup of enchilada sauce. So I'm just gonna, again, I don't measure very well, so whatever you think. And then spread it around. My pan here is getting pretty full. All right, so it's pretty full, you can tell. We're pretty much to the top, but we're done. But we are gonna put one more layer of the tortillas on top, so either 4 or 6. Just try to get it fairly covered. It's kind of like lasagna. All right, so we've got this covered. And then we're just gonna put a little bit of enchilada sauce on top. So with this one, I like to make it look a little more pretty. I try hard, you just wanna go slow. I wanna try and pour it in a nice line across the top. So I just pour this nice line. So voila. Looks a little nicer, but you can just pour it on top and spread it on too. So I'm fairly certain I forgot the jalapeno sauce somewhere, but I think I'm gonna add a little bit of it on top and then keep a little bit of it for the end. So I'm gonna grab another spoon here. I'm gonna try and do the same thing. I'm gonna try and make it look, so get it from the blender. I'm gonna try and like nicely spread it between. Again, it doesn't have to be pretty. We're gonna cut this thing up anyway into pieces for our meal prep, so. All right, and then I'm gonna just save a little bit more for the end to put on top again. All right, I didn't use all my enchilada sauce. If you did, that's a-okay. I didn't measure out, so. All right, so then we're gonna put it in the oven and we are going to cook it. I'm pretty sure we're not covering it, so let me read my instructions. Yep, so we're not covering it. So I'm gonna do 25 minutes in the oven. So bring your mixture over and put it in, probably the middle rack is best. Oh, Stephen always leaves stuff in the stove. We made some pizza last night, so got our pizza thing in here. All right, middle rack. We'll put a timer on for 25 minutes. that go for 25 minutes. Clear up some of your space because we're gonna start our next meals. All right, so we'll let that go, and then refried beans, really good. All right, so once that's ready, we'll broil it a little bit and it'll be ready to go. All right, so next we're doing chickpea meatballs. And so I realize we're doing 2 oven things, which never is the best. Takes a little bit more time when you do 2 oven things, but it's gonna take us some time to get the meatballs ready, and then we can throw them in the oven too. And so when you're cooking, there's always, you know, the temperature you put on. So I put for the chickpea meatballs at 400 degrees, but we'll probably start them at 350 with the enchiladas in there, and then we will raise it after enchiladas are done. So let's get ready for the chickpea meatballs. So I do have the red onion we just cut. Get your minced garlic out. And then if you're doing it for 2 people, 4 cans of chickpeas or garbanzo beans. 2 cans if you're doing it for 1 person. So I'm gonna grab my chickpeas now. And then either rinse out your colander or get a new colander out to drain them. I'm gonna grab another one. So open your cans if you need to. We've got some pole cans here. And again, we look for the include 0 grams of added sugar. You'll be surprised by how much added sugar you find in your canned foods. Put these open, and then I rinse them out again to try and take away some of the sodium that we have in our canned food. All right, cans are open, and now I'm gonna go rinse at my sink. And then we're just gonna do a little quick rinse with some cool water. Use your hands to kind of move around the beans. All right, kind of clean up as I go. Toss the cans here. All right, so now we've got that. So you'll need your blender or your food processor again. So either put the sauce, I'll take some time right now and put the sauce into a bowl, rinse it out. I'm a big fan of just rinsing out because everything that we make really tastes good together. So if you have a few things left in your blender, don't be afraid to just continue using it. But I'm gonna use the food processor. Blender works the same. We might have to add a little bit more liquid to your blender and add less of the beans at a time if you have to use the blender. So I'm gonna get my food processor here, and I have to rinse mine out really fast. And I'll walk you through using a blender too, but while I'm using my food processor. And if you have neither a blender or a food processor, you can definitely still make these. It's just a little bit easier to get all the mixture together. You'll just have to mash it with a fork, or if you have one of those meat mashers, you'll have to mash it, and just it takes a little bit extra time, a little more work for your arms. So, all right, we've got where's my blade? We have the blade. All right, so we're gonna get that ready. And so we're gonna get all our other ingredients here and get ready. So we're gonna need the garlic and soy sauce or aminos. And if you follow my videos, I use liquid aminos. It tastes pretty much like soy sauce. I still put a little bit of soy sauce because I really do like the soy sauce flavor. But this is a really good alternative to be a little healthier, but I'm still mixing the two together. So we've got that. What else do we need? We need the garlic, which we just used. So I've got my minced garlic already. And then we need, there's something else, spices. So this needs smoked paprika and cumin. So I used the cumin the last meal, and then you'll need to get smoked paprika and your salt and pepper. And your salt and pepper. All right, think I missed something in the recipe, so I'm gonna have to go back and add that. Good thing I read while we go through here. All right, so I forgot to add that. We'll need the onion in here too, but we already cut the onion. It'll be good. All right, so we're gonna get the chickpeas and put it in your blender or your food processor. Again, if you don't have one, just get a big bowl, put it in there, and you can start mashing it all together. So I have a lot of chickpeas since it's 4 cans. So I think I'm only gonna start with half, and if you have a blender, I maybe even start with 1/3 of the chickpeas. So I'm just gonna use my hands here and see how much chickpea we can fit in here. Yeah, I'm gonna do maybe about half for my food processor. And then, so if you're using a blender, maybe even do 1/3 or 1/4. All right, so we've got the chickpeas in there. And then we'll need the garlic. So since I'm only doing half right now, I'm gonna add half the garlic. I said so 6 tablespoons of garlic. So I'm only gonna add 3. And again, if you're doing like 1/3, just add 2 tablespoons. And I'm running out of garlic. All right. Got my garlic in there. And then we'll put the soy sauce or aminos, and that's about 1/2 cup. And again, I'm using, where's my 4th cup? I know I had it somewhere in here. I'm only putting half in, so I'm gonna do a 4th cup. I'm gonna do a 4th cup right now. And I'm just gonna do a 4th cup of all of aminos right now. All right, spread it around. And then we're gonna do the spices. Man, I think I really didn't do very well in writing this recipe out for you guys, but we'll make that better. All right, so a tablespoon of smoked paprika and a tablespoon of cumin. Again, I don't measure too well, so just get your tablespoon out and get your cumin in there. Oh wow, I just put way too much cumin in mine. Open the wrong side. Cumin never hurt anyone, right? All right, well, I'm just gonna actually do that much cumin and see how it tastes. And then a tablespoon of smoked paprika. And then however much salt and pepper you want to taste. All right, and then the blender, it might be a little harder than the food processor, so you might need to get a little bit of water ready for your blender. Or just as easy, you can just start mashing the chickpeas together. I've done this before in my other videos when we make buffalo chicken salad, but I'm gonna try the blender. So what I recommend is just pulsing or doing a medium blend on your blender, or if you have other, just keep trying your blender, you know? So let's see what this turns out. Looking nice and mashed, a little solid here, but not bad. All right, so then I'm gonna add the red onion in here, and I forgot to add that to the recipe. So you're adding about 2 smaller red onions, depending on how much you like red onion, but I'm gonna put about half my onion, so maybe a whole onion in here, maybe like 3/4 a cup. And then I'll update my recipe because this one is not right, but cooking is really just an experiment, so if it's not working out, just add other ingredients you have around the house. All right, so I'm gonna pulse it again. If your blender's not blending it, just slowly add some water to it. You don't want it to be too watery though. All right, so you can see I'm getting pretty mashed here. There's a lot of cumin in there. I can smell it with my nose. And it's making me sneeze. Woo. All right, so what I'm gonna do now is make sure I didn't forget any ingredients. So we have the panko breadcrumbs, but that's gonna go in later, and I also forgot to put that in here, so you have to watch the video if you wanna know how to cook this. But I'll get this updated. So don't over blend it because you do want chunks in there. You don't want it to be, in your blender, you don't want it to be like a hummus substance. You want it to be more of chunky, kind of like when you make meatballs, kind of that substance. So I'm gonna get a big bowl here. I'm just gonna move this out of the way. mixture to the bowl now, since we got it pretty chopped up. I'll show you what mine looks like. Not too chunky here, or it's pretty chunky here, so not too blended. Oops. I saw a recipe for using chickpeas to make cookie dough, edible cookie dough, so maybe that might have to be one of my videos. Sounds really good, doesn't it? All right, so now I'm gonna add the rest of my chickpeas. Oops. I always do this. I forget to put, when you have a food processor, I forget to put the blade back in. Not really a problem with the blender. All right, so I've got my blade back in there, and then we add the rest of my chickpeas and do the same exact thing. So I'm gonna add another half cup here, or a fourth cup, since I did half of the aminos. And then I'm not gonna do cumin this time because I did a lot of cumin and I can really smell that. So I'm just gonna do some salt and pepper and just a little bit of smoked paprika. And some salt. And then I'm just gonna add the onion now while I'm at it, since it's a little less of the mixture, but you can do your chickpeas first, then add the onion. So I'm not gonna use all my onions, so it just really depends on how much you want in there. Maybe I will use a little more onion. All right, and then let's make sure I didn't miss anything. Oh, the garlic, minced garlic. So do your other half or your other third and just get a good mixture. And if you're finding your blender is not working well, just stick it all in a bowl and start mashing it with a big fork. If you have one of those meat pressers, those work well too. All right, we've run out of garlic. All right, so now I'm gonna use my food processor to blend it. Again, just add some water to your blender if that's what you need. So I'm just gonna pulse it in. So again, you don't want it too blended because you do want it kind of chunky. So here's what mine looks like. You can still see some fairly bigger chunks in there. I'm just gonna dump it with the rest now. So you might need 2 bowls if you're making it for 2 people. This makes a lot of meatballs, and they're pretty filling, but it's nice to just have a lot of meatballs because we're not gonna have as many carbs in the evening. So our meatballs are mostly our main dish here. So, all right. I'm gonna grab a second bowl. I'm gonna move this all out of the way so we can see a little bit better. Try to put stuff away as I go. All right, drink some coffee while you're prepping, drink some water, listen to music. I did get my music going this morning. All right, so I'm going to put half of mine in my other bowl, make a mess with my hands. And then I'm gonna get my breadcrumbs. So whatever breadcrumbs you want, I recommend panko, really good. Makes them a little more crispy. So grab your breadcrumbs. And then I think I said 4 cups. Let's just make sure 4 cups of the breadcrumbs. So get your breadcrumbs open here. I'm gonna go get a measuring cup for this one. And then since I kind of split it in 2, I'm gonna put 2 cups in one and 2 cups in the other here. Panko breadcrumbs are a little thicker. They're really, really good. All right, and hopefully you got enough breadcrumbs I did buy 2 boxes. But if you don't have 4 full cups, you'll be fine. I'm gonna just make sure I get all 4 cups in here. And then I'm gonna get a big spoon. And if you still need to mash yours together and you're still mashing it, I recommend a big fork. I also like to use, I don't know what this is actually called, I feel like it's for meat, but I just use the smasher. So you can always smash it all together and be smashing the chickpeas together. You didn't have to use a blender or food processor. But here's what mine looks like. It looks like, let me see here, sorry, I have to click that button. It's all kind of mixed together. You can feel that mine's kind of dry actually, so we might add some liquid to it. But you want it to be like when you make meatballs. If you've never made meatballs, you want them to be able to stick together. So you might have to add a little bit of liquid into mine. So I'm mixing both mine together. All right, so I got the breadcrumbs mixed in there. And so I'm just gonna test mine. I'm just gonna kind of pick up some and try and put it together in a bowl. And you can see mine aren't going very well in a ball, so this isn't going as well as my other prepping. It's been a while since I made these and I feel like I'm missing an ingredient, but all right. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna add a little bit more water to it. And I'm gonna get my cup, fill it up. I'm not gonna add a whole cup. I'm just gonna slowly add some water, maybe 1/4 of it. And mix it up in there. Try to get a little bit more wet so they stick together. Good thing I'm recording for most of you who I know are gonna cook later. You might have to edit this recipe before you guys get started. Okay, you can see they're a little more sticky now, but they're still not as sticky as I want them to be. You can see that they're they form into a ball, but I want them to be a little stickier, so I'm gonna add a little bit more water to this one here. Some other things you can add to this, just like meatballs, you can find some Worcestershire sauce. You can add some ketchup, just like regular meatballs, so. All right, I'm gonna try again. I'm gonna pick up here some of it, and it's pretty good. It's a little wet, but we'll see how they end up after the oven. So you can see you can form it into a nice kind of ball here. Kind of might fall apart decently, but they stay together. So we'll see how that works out. I'm gonna finish the other one here. These are gonna make a lot of meatballs. I mean, I probably eat sometimes about 10 meatballs for dinner, so ton of meatballs. And so we also bought asparagus to go as a side on with our meatballs. So little greens and a lot of beans. But they're a good source of protein. Really good for you. All right, so again, I just tested out. And if they're too liquidy, you can always add more breadcrumbs. Or if you ran out of breadcrumbs, you can add a little bit of flour if you've got that in your house. So here are the balls. So they go in pretty nice firm balls. So I think we're ready to go. I'm gonna rinse off my hands. We have about 6 more minutes in the oven over there. I've made a mess on my floor. All right, so I'm gonna get that out of the way a little bit here. And then you're gonna wanna get baking sheets. So we have some ginormous baking sheets that we like to use. So I'm gonna get 2 baking sheets because we're gonna make a ton of meatballs for 2 people. So, and we put aluminum foil on top, so I'm gonna go grab some aluminum foil. Otherwise, put some oil, butter, whatever you need to make sure the meatballs don't stick. All right, so I got my aluminum foil. And then I am gonna put some oil on top of here to make sure they don't stick. We have a nice brush to brush our oil on here. If you don't have a brush, you just kind of move it around. I'm gonna do my other pan. We have about 4 minutes in the oven here, and I'm not gonna start rolling meatballs right now just because our hands are gonna get super messy, and I'm gonna wait this 4 minutes for those to get done. In the meantime, we can start getting our sauce, the Firecracker sauce, ready to start making. So for the Firecracker sauce, you'll need cornstarch, hot sauce, your aminos. So keep our hot sauce out. Put the aminos away, even though I needed them. Got the aminos. We need cornstarch. Got the cornstarch. What else do we need? We need a sugar or sweetener. So you can use date sugar, some organic brown sugar. Again, we try not to do too much added sugar, so we try and use like some natural sugar like dates or agave is really good, or honey, raw honey is good. So I think today I'm going to use some date sugar that we have made. But really, you can use any sugar. If you just want something a little sweeter for the sauce, it's kind of like an Asian-y flavored sauce, and you want that sweetness to it. We need date sugar, and then we'll need water. And so right now, let's get a saucepan out. And so you might need a decent sized saucepan because we are putting, let me see, about ½ cup of water, 2 cups of hot sauce. So you might need a small, medium sized saucepan. All right. So I'm gonna use a little like wok thing here, so whatever size you need, this will fit everything. Get that ready. And the sauce really doesn't take too long. So now that we have everything ready, we'll get started, and we'll need water, so get your measuring cups out and ready. And so while we have some time here, clean up your mess. It's nice if someone else is prepping with you, they can be cleaning while you're cooking. We've got about a minute left over there. All right, so next for the enchiladas that we were making over there in the oven, we cooked them for 25 minutes, so you can kind of check them out, see what they look like. Looking pretty good. Sauce is a little brown on top. So now, I'll show you what mine looks like here. I'll turn off my timer. So, sorry Instagram, you're not gonna be able to see. So they look pretty good. Oops. They look pretty good over there. keep dropping my phone, sorry guys. But if you want them a little more brown and a little more crispy on top, you guys can broil it for about 5 minutes. So if you have the broil function on your stove. So I'm gonna do, mine are pretty brown, but I'm gonna broil mine on high for maybe like 3 minutes here. Broil, and when you broil, it gives a nice crisp on top. And you want it to get a little browner. So we're gonna let that go for about 3 minutes here. And you know what? I'm just gonna start getting my hands messy with the meatballs now, and then I'll just go turn off the oven and take it out, wash my hands. So, all right, so now it's time to make your meatballs. Just like if you've made meatballs before with meat, this is just chickpeas. So whatever size you want, you can make them pretty big. I like to make them kind of like, to me, the average size meatball. It's about this. So I just put them on there, roll them. Your hands don't get as messy, I feel like, with meat. And it's nice because you don't, you know, it's not meat, so you don't have to wash your hands truly between touching things and everything. So I'm just gonna roll these balls. You can have smaller ones too. Sometimes the smaller ones stay together better. I honestly have not perfected the vegan meatball. Sometimes they're a little too dry and fall apart, but they still taste really good. Or they're a little too wet. So this is the best one I've done so far, so that's why I'm sharing with you. I am gonna have to change my recipe though. It's hard. I normally just make it as I go, and so I kind of forget what I do. I have to write it down. So whatever size you want, again, usually the smaller is a little bit better, stays together. And they don't do perfect circles. I mean, you're just gonna eat them. I don't think you're taking Instagram pictures of your meatballs here. So it's gonna take a little bit of time to roll, but it's kind of perfect timing because our enchiladas are about to be done. So then we can turn our oven up to about 400 degrees to start the meatballs. So yeah, it takes some time to roll. And you can always make less, obviously, kind of cut the recipe down. And why not try it? All right, we got about 40 seconds here till the enchiladas are done. All right, I'm gonna try to speed up a little bit here and power through some of these. Again, if it's not sticking together well and kind of falling apart, not rolling into balls, just add some more water. If it's too watery and kind of sticking to your hands, then you should probably add a little more dry. Anything dry you have, if you have any more panko breadcrumbs or even regular breadcrumbs laying around the house, you can add that. You can add some flour to it. That's another good alternative. If you do have nutritional yeast from any of our recipes, you can add some of that to it. Sounds like that would be something good to put in here. Might have to change my recipe and add that. All right, so it's done broiling. I'm gonna go rinse my hands really fast. Grab it out and I'll show you guys what it looks like. It's pretty good. Here's what it looks like. Nice and browned. You could probably even do a little more brown on top if you want to broil it for longer, if you like it even more crispy. All right, so now I'm just gonna let it sit here and cool for like the rest of the time we're prepping everything here. And I'm gonna raise the oven up to 400 degrees now. All right, so we'll get that going. It's pretty much ready for us, so keep rolling these meatballs here. So if you are watching this video for the first time, or watching any of my videos for the first time, I started eating more, I don't like the word vegan too much, but it's the buzzword. I've been starting to eat more of a plant-based diet ever since I read the book, How Not to Die by Dr. Greger. And so pretty much I just started doing this for our health, and it really made us feel a lot better, especially not having dairy. I feel like I'm probably lactose intolerant, but have never been tested. So it's been really good to us. We've lost some weight. We feel a lot better. We do still like to eat some meat on the weekends or fish, but we really try during our weekdays to go plant-based. A lot of beans to get our protein. A lot of lentils are really good for your protein. And greens, lots of greens. So with this meal, we are eating, we have some broccoli left over, so I'll probably have some broccoli and some asparagus for our meals this week. So in the recipe I do say, you know, start steaming your veggies too, or if you steam veggies regularly, when we do meals like this, sometimes we don't prep the steamed veggies and we just steam our veggies while our meatballs are heating up in the microwave. So whatever your desire is, play around with recipes, add things, take away things. That's pretty much how I feel like we've learned to cook. Just playing around, taking other people's recipes, making it our own with different ideas, different foods. All right, so I'm almost done with this. I still haven't perfected either making the burger. Someday I'll try and do that again. But we've made some chickpea burgers. It's been pretty good, but all right. I'm gonna grab the other tray. And you can have your meatballs fairly close to one another. They don't get bigger, so those are a little far apart, but I'm gonna have to add some more because I've got quite a few meatballs to make left. It's also really good to make these with pasta. It's a good lunch too. We try to stick away from having too carby of dinners, more carby lunches. So that's why this week's dinner is mostly these bean balls and veggies. But we've made this for lunch before, and we put pasta, you can get spaghetti sauce, you know, whatever sauces you want to go on top of these. This week, we're doing more of a firecracker sauce. I wanted something a little more, you know, spicy. So if you don't like spices, you can make a different sauce. You can buy a sauce from the store and add them on top. So whatever you want. All right, it does take some time to roll meatballs. Same as regular meatballs, same as meat meatballs. Takes time and messy hands. But yeah, if you guys, when you make any of this food, feel free to send me pictures. I love to see what you guys make. Again, in a lot of the recipes too, you can always add meat. In the enchiladas, you could have browned some ground turkey or ground beef, put it in there, and between the layers too. Probably do a little less beans if you're gonna do some meat. So they're really good recipes. A lot of times we try and find any recipes we like that have meat and see if we can make them meatless. All right, we're getting there, I start to make these a little bit bigger as I go because I'm getting lazy, so I'm trying to make these normal sized. Again, a lot of times if you make them too big, they do like to fall apart. But if your meatballs fall apart, it's because this recipe is a little questionable right now that I wrote down. They'll still taste really good. The first time I made a burger, trying to make a black bean chickpea burger, they just fell apart. So we just pretty much ate it like it was ground meat, and just put our burger toppings on and mix it all together, and it was still good. All right, we're getting somewhere. Let's see, how many did I make over there? 4. So we got 24 meatballs over there, and they're a little bigger this week, so you know, probably 4 to 5 if they're a little bigger. Smaller meatballs, I can eat up to like 10 for dinner. But usually we make only about 4 dinners a week, so total 8. And then Fridays we normally, you know, make something fun for Fridays. Lots of pizza or some meat if Steven wants some meat. All right, I think I'm down to my last row here. It's not bad. What time are we at? 11:23. Not bad. We're almost done with our second meal. So it's really nice to prep your meals throughout the week. It's hard if you don't like to eat the same thing every day, but if you make really good food, you kind of look forward to eating it again, you know? You have it on Monday, you're like, wow, it tastes really good. I could eat for dinner again or eat throughout the week, but I understand the variety needs, but it's so much easier for our lifestyle, at least. We can just come home when we're not in quarantine and working, and we can just throw it in the microwave, eat our meal, and then do stuff in the evening. So we don't have to worry about cooking stuff. We do like to cook, but we do have a lot of extracurriculars that we like to do too. So it's nice to just have our food ready to go. And less to clean. We just have the Tupperware normally that we put it in. So it's a nice way to do it every once in a while if you're not a usual meal prepper. Steven could probably eat the same thing for months. I like to at least change it up week by week. So, all right, done. Gonna rinse my hands off. So we've got some pretty good looking meatballs. I feel like it's about 48 meatballs, 50 meatballs that you can make from this. If you're doing, you know, a decent sized meatball, they got a little bit bigger at the end for me. Probably make up to 60 or 70 if you do them a bit smaller. So now, let me just make sure how long I said to put them in here. I'm gonna watch this to make sure we're right. So we're gonna cook them for about 30 minutes, and about 15 minutes, halfway through, we are going to flip them over. So I'm gonna just put them in the oven on both racks because we have 2 here. Alright, I'm going to set my timer for 15 minutes so then we can flip them halfway here. Alright, we'll see how this goes. 400 might be a little hot, but we'll try it out. So, alright, so next is the sauce. We got all our ingredients ready if you were following along. So I've got them all out here. And so what we're going to do, and I forgot to do this ahead of time, but it will still work out. We are going to get a little bowl for our cornstarch. So let me make sure how much cornstarch we are doing. 4 teaspoons of cornstarch. So I measure out for sauces a little bit better. So we're gonna do 4 tablespoons of cornstarch. And we wanted to mix this a little bit earlier to get it combined, but we can do it now. It's not the end of the world. We'll put 4 tablespoons in here. And then you want a half cup of chilled water. So if you have a Brita in your fridge, or if you have water bottles in there, I'd use that. I'm just gonna try and get my water pretty cold over here. I'd get a half cup to put in here. Let your water get cold. All right, and a half cup of the chilled water with the cornstarch. So then I'm just gonna get a little spoon to stir it all together. The cornstarch will get sticky to the bottom, so you really wanna kind of scrape the bottom of the bowl here. Again, feel free to be drinking coffee and water while you prep. My morning went a little slower than normal, so I wasn't as prepared for you guys. All right, so it really sticks to the bottom there. So you really want to scrape the bottom. You want to get stirred well together. All right. So it gets pretty milky. And make sure there's none really stuck to the bottom there. Get it mixed well together. All right, so we got that. We should have done this a little bit earlier instead of the side, but it'll be fine for now. So in the saucepan, I'm gonna get together for you. I'm gonna do it over here and then put it on the stove top for you guys. So we're gonna put the rest of the ingredients that I have on the sauce in here now. So I'm gonna start with hot sauce. So we want about 2 cups of hot sauce. I always forget it takes so long to get the hot sauce out of here. So I'm gonna be over here, get my hot sauce out. If you don't like hot sauce, if it's too hot, I don't know if I really have an alternative for you. You probably just want to get a different sauce. All right, I don't know if I'm gonna have 2 cups of hot sauce. We have some other hot sauce I'll get out. So, all right, 1 cup in there. Grab some more hot sauce. Let's see, what do we have? Oh, buffalo sauce. That might be a good alternative to the sauce, some buffalo sauce. It's not as spicy, but I'm gonna have to do a conglomerate of things since I did not buy enough hot sauce. So I'm gonna do some sriracha. And then I'm gonna do the rest buffalo sauce. So if you don't have enough things, don't be afraid. Just add some other stuff you find. You could have added ketchup for all, we know. Could have just tasted it just as good. All right, so we're gonna do buffalo sauce. It's gonna taste maybe a little less Asian, but we get what we can get. All right, so I've got the hot sauce in there, and I'm gonna add the sweetener, so 1 1/3 cup. My cup is not good anymore, so let's see. I'm using date sugar that we made, but you can use honey, raw honey. You can use agave. You can use any sugar you have. Brown sugar is usually kind of the best one to go and get, but if you just have regular white sugar, that is good too. So it's a lot of sweetener, but this is a pretty sweet sauce. All right, so I'm gonna get a little spoon to stir it. We use wooden spoons on our pans. I'm gonna stir this sugar into here. So if you use honey or agave, just stir it in. Yum, this is gonna be a pretty good sauce. See how it tastes with the buffalo. All right, so we got the sugar mixed in there. All right, what is next? Now we need a cup of water. So I'm just gonna take my cup that I used with my sauce and put a cup of water in there. All right, did I miss anything? And then 1/2 cup of soy sauce or aminos. So I'm just gonna use the straight up aminos this time, but you can use soy sauce. I recommend low sodium. All right, I'm using a 1/4 cup, so only 1/2 cup if you're using your 1/2 cup. All right, so pretty good. I think we got everything. I'm gonna stir it together here now. Get that water kind of mixed in with the hot sauce and your sweetener. All right. All right, so let me make sure what we want to do here. So we're gonna want to bring this mixture to a boil. So I'm gonna turn my stove on, and I have a nice boil stove top. So I'm going to turn it on really high to get this boiling. And then we're gonna bring down the temperature. So we're gonna have to watch this fairly closely. So bring it over to my stove. I'm gonna put it on a very high heat to get the boil going. So then with that, I'm gonna start cleaning up just a little bit more so we can start our final snack. All right. Let's get started. I'm gonna bring my stirring utensil over here too. Make sure it's mixed well together. Watch it to make sure it goes to a boil. So if yours goes to a boil before mine, you're gonna wanna lower the heat and we're gonna let it simmer for a while. So pretty low heat, you're gonna want it at like a 1 or 2 on your stove top. So I'll keep watching it and we'll see how it goes. All right, so for snack this week, we're gonna make some more energy balls. I love energy balls. They're a great, easy go-to snack. Just put them in a Ziploc bag, take them to work if you're going to work again. Have them at home. It's a great snack that has no added sugar. I try to have no added sugar in mine, and it tries to, I get donuts at work all the time and cupcakes, so it was always good to be like, no, I'm gonna eat my energy balls, or I'm only gonna have 1 donut instead of 3 donuts, and I'm gonna have my energy balls. So it's a nice snack to have around. All right, so the banana bread balls, I'm starting to use my food processor a little bit more with you guys, but you do not have to use a food processor. You can use a blender or just your hand with a fork or the masher or anything that you want to use. So, all right, so we have our 2 bananas, and mine's starting to get a little boily over there. And you want it to be a full boil. I'm not gonna bring the camera over there because I've been really bad at moving my camera. So I've got a little boil going. I'm gonna let it get to a full boil still. So while that's still going, I'm gonna get my bananas and my dates and some of the other ingredients that we need here. So let's get the dates. All right, dates. I have some really brown bananas somewhere around here. Well, maybe we'll use the regular ones. All right. So we boil a little more. All right, I got my bananas. I got really brown ones. These aren't too large, so I might use 2 of these and just a regular banana. Ripe is a little bit better. It's a little bit sweeter, but if you don't have ripe, a regular banana will work too. All right, so we also need walnuts and your coconuts, and we get that walnuts and coconut. Walnuts, you might definitely need a blender or a food processor for that. So you might have to leave that out if you don't have a blender or a food processor. And then unsweetened coconut flakes. And we'll need cinnamon. Wow, this recipe's a little bit longer than I remember. All right, cinnamon and agave or maple syrup. We use agave this week. So get your cinnamon. Agave, you can find it, agave, I think normally in the honey section they have agave. It's actually, I think a little less expensive than honey, and I found it to be really good, tasty. Some people don't like agave, can be a little bitter. All right, so got your agave. If you have your sea salt, we don't have sea salt, so I just have my regular salt here to use. Flour, and then some more unsweetened shredded coconut. So I'm gonna grab my flour. I like almond flour. All right, so give it a good stir or 2 of your sauce that's over here. Don't let it stick to the bottom too much. If you have a wooden spoon, really scrape the bottom. And mine's pretty much boiling. Fairly heavy, so I'm going to turn mine down to simmer now. If you don't have a power boil stovetop like we have, you might still have to wait a little bit for it to boil. So I'm going to turn mine down to low. I'm going to let it simmer here about 10 minutes. So it's 11:37. So we'll kind of try and watch the clock a little bit while we're doing this too. All right, so I've got all my ingredients out. I like to get all my ingredients out so I can see everything. While we're at it, I'm going to move this very large cutting board out of the way so I have more room to make these energy balls. All right. Got all my ingredients out here now. Have a little coffee too. All right. So we've been using our blenders and food processors a lot today. Week's food, so I'm gonna have to rinse out my food processor over here. You might have to rinse out your blender. Again, you don't have to use a blender. With walnuts, you don't have to use a blender either. We can cut them up, so I can show you that too. But I'm gonna get my food processor kind of rinsed out here and going. All right, got it rinsed out. And I'm gonna get my food processor for you. All right, food processor, so get your blender out if you're gonna use that. I'll also show you how to not use a blender. All right, I'm gonna find my blade. The woes of food prepping. You lose everything. All right, I store my blade somewhere around here. I have to find that before I get started, or I might have to use my blender. Oh, it's over here. All right, gotta rinse off my blade. And those meatballs smell pretty good over there. We've got a minute until we need to flip them, so I'll probably just move this out of the way for now. All right, so now we're gonna, before we get started on this, at least we've got our ingredients going. Let's give your sauce a little stir here. Make sure it's not sticking to the bottom. If it's boiling, turn the heat down. You want it to simmer. All right. I'm gonna get this out. I'm like crossing my fingers, these meatballs don't fall apart. I think I need a new name for them, like meatballs or something else, because they're not meat, but they are based off meatballs. All right. Now looking back, we're still together. I'm gonna turn off. I'm gonna leave the one tray in the oven, let it keep going, it's fine. And so, yeah, they're feeling pretty good actually. I'm pretty pumped about this. I'm gonna change the recipe so you guys have the exact measurements I did. But honestly, I just use my hand. It's not too hot, and I try and flip the meatballs. Try and do it slowly and carefully. Pull them off. Some of them get stuck to the bottom. Oh, see, they kind of fall apart a little bit. Maybe not the perfect recipe. So honestly, they're not too cooked down there yet. And so when you cook in your oven, I had my trays on two different levels, and my bottom tray is still in there. And so it might be a little more cooked on the bottom than the top. So I'm gonna grab out my bottom one. Kind of see what they look like here. Look pretty good. And they're a little more brown on the bottom. You see, that's what you want in your meatball. So these bottom ones, I don't think are ready to flip yet. So honestly, maybe you already took out your bottom ones compared to me. I'm gonna put these back in while I flip the other ones. So I'm gonna put these back in on the bottom. So we have our bottom rack ones, and you do wanna see that you do wanna have, sometimes use a spatula, that helps too, to get the meatball off. And then if your meatballs are super sticky, I grab your oil, and then we're gonna add a little more oil on the bottom right now to make sure the next round doesn't stick as much. So just add a little oil. I have my little thing somewhere. I like to brush around the oil a little bit. Be a little careful with the meatballs. They are fragile since they are not meatballs. So what I do is I try and slowly pull it up. Again, you want the bottom to be a little brown and crisp, and then I just flip it over to the other side. And they sometimes can't perfectly go over, and then sometimes, for instance here, I pulled off the bottom. So, you know, whatever, they'll still taste good. So again, pull off, you see a nice little brown on the bottom. These are pretty good meatballs. They're pretty good, pretty together. All right, so I'm gonna slowly flip. If it's too hot, let it sit for a second. If you have tongs, use your tongs very lightly. You don't want these to fall apart. And so if you got one that's really stuck, sometimes I like to push it a little bit with my spatula. So they're looking nice and cooked on the bottom. And so I just flip them all over. I'm pretty excited about these. They're not too flaky. Some pieces might fall off, not the end of the world. But again, it's about being kind of nice to the meatballs. All right, so I got them all flipped. I was about to touch the whole tray with my hand, thank goodness. I did not. I only pulled one off, so success. This is what they look like. You can see like the brown on top. Hopefully they're not too burnt free. If they are, probably a little bit less time or a little lower heat. So it's kind of it's an art form with your oven. All right, so I'm gonna put these back, and these were on the bottom rack the first round, so I'm gonna put these on the top rack this round. And I'm gonna grab my other ones. I still don't think they're probably ready, but you know, I might try and flip them still. Let's see. No. So a lot of these, when they get harder, they're easier to flip, but if you can tell when you pull it up and it's stuck to the bottom, we might want to cook them just a little bit longer. And again, I'm just gonna add a little oil between here. And if you don't have a brush, after you add the oil, I like to kind of just pick up my tray and move the oil around, try and get it kind of under those. And then I'm gonna put this back in and put the timer on for about 5 more minutes here. Let's do 5 minutes on our timer. And while we're over here, I'm gonna stir the sauce a little bit more. Let it keep simmering. Looks pretty good. Let's see, we're about 47. All right, it's been about 8 minutes, so we'll start our balls, and in between the balls, we will be going to our meatballs. So get a bowl out. You also use a lot of bowls while prepping, so you might have to be rinsing yours out. So all right, we're gonna get a bowl out because we're gonna get ready to put all the balls in here too. And if you do not have a food processor or a blender, you'll want to start just putting it all in the bowl. So with the food processor and my bananas, I'm gonna start prepping. I'm gonna take my bananas out. And so I just like to kind of rip them into pieces, especially if you just have a almost ripe banana. It's pretty easy just to rip into pieces. These bananas might be a little more soft here, so I might only rip them a little bit. But these are pretty soft brown bananas, so just rip a little bit off. I just throw on my counter. Gonna have to clean the whole thing anyway. And you can use 2, 3. I'm gonna use 3 just because I'm gonna make a little bit more. And honestly, I'll probably make even more later. But we do like to eat a lot around here. All right, so I've got my banana ready to go. And then you'll wanna get your dates ready. So hopefully you got this organic dates or whatever dates you got. They look like big raisins or big prunes. So we want these to be pitted. So in the inside of dates, on here you got them pitted, which is fantastic. You'll have to just kind of open them on the side and pull the pit out. So just like a fruit, it has a pit in it. So I said about 8 dates. So let's count out the 8 dates. All right, we've got 8 dates, and so I'm just gonna pit them. Your hands are gonna get a little sticky. Got about 3 minutes till we might have to flip our meatballs over there. And with these recipes, if you want more dates, you can add some more. You'll just have to add a little more. It's an art form. You'll just have to add a little more, maybe flour, or maybe a little more, probably flour. Probably a little more flour, so the dry stuff, so it's wet versus dry, right? Just have to add more wet or dry depending on what kind of consistency you want your balls to be in. All right, so now that I have my pit of dates, so if you're using a blender, I recommend that you put the dates in a bowl, just a small bowl, so put all your dates into a bowl and then cover it with water and then put it in the microwave for probably about a minute. And then dump most of the water out, leave maybe a 1/4 cup of water or a little less water in there. It softens the dates and they're easier to blend, and it adds a little bit of water to be able to blend the dates more easily. But if you have a food processor, the nice thing is you don't have to do that. You can just food process this all together. So also if you're gonna smash it all together too, what you can do is, again, do the same thing. Heat it up for about a minute in the microwave with water and then mix it all together. You might have a little thicker bar, so you might have to add a little more liquid. It's just a little bit different depending on what tools you have. So, all right, we got the dates ready. Where's the walnuts? We got our walnuts. And we've got everything else here, but the oven's about to be ready. So I'm gonna kind of push this out of the way for now. Get it out of the way. And I'm gonna see what the meatballs look like on the bottom. So to see if we can flip them now. So turn my timer off. And check out the bottom ones. You're gonna set it down, but yeah, these are probably pretty ready. I might not have put enough oil on the bottom when we first started because they're kind of sticky to the bottom. So it just really depends on how you do. So honestly, I'm just gonna try and use my spatula to loosen up these ones. A little more stuff than the other ones. All right, so you can see they are getting more brown on the bottom, just like the other ones, so that's what we want. All right, so I'm gonna try and flip them over. Try not to break off too many of the bottoms here. Oh, broke off that bottom. Spatula really helps not break off the bottom. And they're not too hot. They're a little hot on the bottom, so be a little careful, but they're not too hot on the top. A lot more mine are breaking off on this one, but again, it's not the end of the world. This one's really falling apart. It doesn't look like a good meatball there, but we'll live. You can see I break off the bottoms, so not as good. But I did make these, I think these are my second round of rolling, so I did make these a little bit bigger, so I did warn you that the bigger you make the meatballs, the more likely they are to fall apart. So beware. Small meatballs, a little bit easier to flip around. Don't fall apart. These smell really good though. I'm pretty excited about these ones. All right, so I got these all flipped. Some of them are falling apart, but those are my big meatballs. All right, I'm gonna put them back on the bottom here. Since we went for about 5 minutes, I'm gonna do about 10 minutes more. So total cooking is about 30 minutes for the meatballs. Just depends on when you flip them. If you want them a little crunchier, you can do it for a little bit longer. I don't recommend going any shorter, otherwise they'll just be kind of mushy. So I'm gonna do about 10 more minutes. And we'll keep going with the banana bread energy balls. So, all right, I've got my banana and my dates, and hopefully you microwave your dates if you needed to. And so next we're just gonna do the banana and the dates together. So either put them in your bowl and start using your fork to mash it, or put it in into your blender and start blending. And you might need to add a little bit of water to the blender, and that's okay. It can be a little more runny than mine looks like because I have the food processor. So I am just gonna throw my bananas in here and then throw the dates in here too. And oh, I have to rinse my top off. All right. Top on here. And then I'm just gonna pulse it. I'm a big just fan of pulsing with my food processor. So without a blender or a food processor, yours will be a little bit more chunky than everyone else's just because it's hard to really get those dates squished together. So in the blender and the food processor, you really want to do it until it's kind of a smooth paste, like peanut butter-esque. So. Mine's pretty smooth. You'll have some date chunks in there. It's more from the skin. And if you want to blend them more, it will get smoother. And if you add more water, it will get smoother too, but it's still pretty good for me. I'll show you the consistency. It's like a peanut butter, right? I kind of have some date chunks, so I think I will do it just a little bit longer. Good for me. So if you're still blending, you know, you might have to add a little bit of water in it to make it a little more smoother. It's a little more liquidy than mine. That is okay. All right, so now we're gonna wanna add the rest of the ingredients right into your blender or your bowl or your food processor. So the rest of that ingredients are walnuts. So 2 cups of walnuts. If you're allergic to walnuts or anything, you can use almonds. I'm allergic to cashews, so you can use cashews too. Any kind of nut. Walnuts are really good with the banana. I find that to be a really nice flavor. If you don't like nuts, you don't have to put them in. Then we're just gonna put a little bit more flour in if you don't want any nuts. So if you are using a bowl, you can put your 2 cups of nuts on a cutting board and just take a knife and kind of just smash up the walnuts. And they smash really nice with a knife. You'll just have to do it for a little bit longer. And then with your blender, you might also need to put them on the cutting board and kind of cut them a little bit. So let me kind of show you what that looks like. Because I know most people probably do not have a food processor. And so unless you have like a Ninja or a really nice blender, you'll most likely have to do this. So let me get a measuring cup out to measure more accurately here. Oh, so I forgot about the sauce kind of. Let's give it a good stir if you're over there too. I'm gonna keep the heat on for now, but let's see, I'm gonna get really fast. All right, so since I forgot about the sauce over there, we're gonna move back to our sauce for the meatballs. So for that, we get this bowl that we put together of cornstarch and water, and you're gonna want to re-stir this bowl that we put to the side because it's all stuck to the bottom, as you can see. And you want to scrape the bottom of the bowl and get it all mixed together nicely again. And so what we're gonna do is we are going to stir in this cornstarch and water now. So the cornstarch helps to thicken the sauce. My sauce is pretty thick already, so we'll see how this ends up. But I'm going to just pour it in and stir it. So you want to keep the heat on low, like the lowest it can go right now. Get it all mixed in there. And then we're gonna let it keep simmering a little bit, and we're gonna let it get thicker. So hopefully I won't forget about it in a second. We're probably gonna go back to that in between everything. So while prepping, you're really going in between all your different meals you're making. So it's kind of a mind-boggling thing to do sometimes. All right, so with your almonds, you can get the 2 cups. All right, so I've got my 2 cups on here. So if you have a blender, if you have a food processor, you could just put the almonds, you can put the walnuts straight in there. But with just pushing it all or pressing it all together or using a blender, I recommend kind of just taking your knife and just cutting up the almonds. You get a little messy, it probably gets on the floor. There goes some right now. You can go slow and just kind of press them together. And so for your blender, I recommend getting like pretty small pieces, maybe them into 4ths or 6ths. So cut those up like so. You can always try in your blender to see if it's okay. You might start with less and see what happens. But so I recommend I just go back and forth kind of side to side here and get them chopped pretty nicely. But with a food processor, you don't have to do that. So I'm gonna stop now and I'm gonna throw mine in the food processor here. And if you are just chopping it, you probably want a pretty fine amount here. You don't want to chop it all the way down to kind of a flour, but you want some chunks in there, but not too much. So chop it pretty nicely. All right, so got the almonds in there. Bring the food processor back over. So the rest of the ingredients go in here except for the flour. So we've got a cup of your unsweetened coconut. Get that open. Again, we try to find the includes 0 grams of added sugar on the back. So unsweetened coconut flakes here. If you don't like coconut, then this recipe is probably not for you. You can always try and not include it and see what it tastes, or see what it's like. You might need a little more flour or dry ingredients. All right, so I've got my cup of coconut in there. And then I forgot, you will need 4 tablespoons of coconut oil. So I didn't get that out yet. So we have coconut oil and ours is pretty stuck together. So yours might be a little thinner, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to put 4 tablespoons into a small bowl here. So 4 tablespoons, again, I'm terrible. 4 teaspoons, so a lot smaller than a tablespoon. 4 teaspoons of coconut oil. It's not too much. And you can probably always put just regular oil, olive oil, any oil that you want. Coconut's a little sweeter, so adds a little more sweetness to your cookie balls here. Put a little bit more. And so if yours is like this, pretty stuck together, I'm gonna go microwave it for maybe about 30 seconds to get it more liquefied to add to your blender or your mixture. If you're not using a blender, I recommend definitely getting it down to a liquid. So throw it in your microwave, 30 seconds, a minute. And while that's going, hopefully you can kind of watch it, but stir your sauce a little bit. Hopefully it's getting a little bit thicker with the cornstarch. There might be some chunks in it, so you'll want to kind of stir out those chunks in there. All right. And now everything's about to go off at once here. My oven, my microwave. All right, so I pretty much liquefied my coconut oil here. I'm just gonna dump it in here. All right, the oven is about to go off. I'll turn my timer off. So our meatballs are most likely done here. I will move out of the way of this so you guys can see. Turn off the timer. And I'm gonna take out the bottom meatballs. So what I recommend doing, kind of like what we did before, is picking up a meatball and seeing what the bottom looks like. So it's pretty brown. Looks pretty good. So these meatballs, let me check out another one, are pretty good, staying pretty well together. Again, they're gonna be a little sensitive. But if you keep them on this pan, they'll cook a little bit more. So I'm gonna go put the pan over here off to the side for now and let them kind of keep cooking on the top here. And then I'm gonna check the top rack. The top rack might not be as done because the bottom rack cooks a little faster. At least for my oven. You might have a different oven, so, all right. These still look pretty good, and I don't want to dry them out too much. So my bottoms are looking still pretty, a little browned. And so I think I'm gonna call these ones done too and let them cook on here a little bit longer. All right, so we'll put these off to the side. I'm gonna turn the oven off. All right, now just let's check on our sauce here. I give it a little stir. And it's getting pretty thick, so I'll show you what mine looks like. So you can see it's pretty thick, pretty running. Really depends on how you want the sauce. There might be some chunks in there. I can see a little chunkiness. Try and stir it out. Give it a little taste, see if you like it, if you need some more agave or sugar or anything. It's tasting pretty good to me. Pretty spicy. Depending on what hot sauce you got. Woo! It's really spicy. All right. So, now that if your sauce is thick enough, as thick as you want it to put on top of your meatballs, we can be done. Take your sauce off. I'm gonna leave mine on low just a little bit longer, make it get a little thicker. All right, so back to our banana bread energy balls here. So we got to the coconut oil and now it's time to add cinnamon. So it's 4 teaspoons of cinnamon. Again, I'm not the best at measuring, so I just kind of eyeball about the 4 tablespoons. And I love cinnamon, so I might put a little bit more in. All right, so we got that. And again, if you're using a blender, just be putting this all in the blender or just put it all in a bowl together, whatever you have available. And so then we're gonna add a little sweetener. And so I'm gonna do agave. So about a teaspoon of agave or maple syrup, or if you have sugar, whatever you need. So I'm about to put a teaspoon here. You can always add more if you're like, I want more honey, I want more maple syrup, add it. I'm gonna put probably a little more than a teaspoon. And then just a little bit of salt in here. Sea salt's really good. We don't have sea salt, but I'm just gonna use my Himalayan salt we have here. So got that in there, and so we've got all the ingredients. And so if you have all your ingredients in the bowl, start mashing it together with your fork. We already mashed together the banana and the dates, hopefully. So now it's just all of this kind of getting mashed together. And if you're using a blender, you might, again, need to add a little bit of water as you're blending this. If you're using a food processor, you most likely will not need to add any water to it. So we are going to pulse it. So mine's pretty good. And again, it's gonna be a little chunky. I might need to blend a little bit more. You can see what mine looks like. It's kind of still pretty chunky in there. So I'm gonna blend it a little bit more with the walnuts. So I recommend maybe chopping your walnuts a little more if you're using a blender and you don't want these to be as chunky. You can do this all day long and make it not as whatever consistency you want. So I'm gonna call this done for me. I don't mind a little bit of the nut chunkiness in there. So you can see what mine looks like. Not bad. All right, so if you use the blender or the food processor, put it away off to the side for now. Kitchen is a disaster per every Saturday or Sunday. Oops. I like to leave spoons and measuring cups in my stuff, so beware if if you're cupping for the first time. All right, so now move this off to the side. Get your bowl that we had gotten ready if you use the blender or food processor. Make sure if you use a food processor that you take out your blade. I like to take it out first just in case I put my hand in there and don't really want to be going to the ER at this time. All right, so I'm just gonna take this mixture and throw it in my bowl. And you'll see how thick mine is. Yours might be a little more runny if you use the blender, which is fine because we're gonna add flour to it to make it less runny. And again, if you don't think this is enough energy balls for your week, just make it a second batch, you know? They're so good. I'm definitely gonna make a second batch of this. This is not enough for Steven and I for the week. All right, so got that all in there. And you can tell that this is way too liquidy to roll into balls. So what we're gonna do is I put on the recipe is that you probably add about 1/8 to maybe even 1/2 or maybe more flour to your mixture to be able to roll it into a ball. So I'm gonna get a measuring cup. And I'm gonna start with, let's see, maybe I'll only start with 1/8. So I'm gonna get 1/8 over here. So your measuring cup's ready. Right now I'm gonna go back to my sauce on the stove and see what the thickness looks like here. It's looking pretty good for me. It's kind of like a pasta sauce consistency. So you don't want it too watery. So if it's still pretty watery, I'd keep yours on, but I'm getting to like a nice pasta sauce consistency, right? So I'm gonna call this done. I'm gonna leave it in here and let it cook just a little bit more with the hot pot here. Oops. And just leave it to the side for now. So we're pretty much done with our 2 main meals. So we'll finish up here with our snack kind of dessert. So I'm gonna start with an 1/8 cup. You might wanna start with more if you used a blender or your hands. So I'm gonna just start with an 1/8 and just take my spoon, I'm gonna get a little bigger spoon. And start mixing the flour in there. Oh yeah, I'm gonna need a lot more flour. Also, I used an extra banana, so if you added more liquid, you might definitely need to add more. So I'm gonna go all the way up and add a 1/3 cup here. And so the other thing you can do with these when you're making energy balls is you can, and what I do a lot of times, I put it in the fridge for about maybe 30 minutes, maybe the freezer for 10 minutes, and let them harden. And then they're a lot easier to roll. So you definitely might have to do that if you use the blender or your hands to mix this all together, because I think I might have to add a lot of flour if I keep going. But also the flour, adding more flour, you'll get more balls. So it depends on what you want to do. So honestly, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a lot more flour, maybe a whole nother 1/3 cup in here. Probably need another one to get it to the consistency. And if you don't have flour and you want to make these, I use oats a lot to make them. So any type of oats, any type of oatmeal, anything really works to add. You just need kind of those wet and dry ingredients. So, all right, I'm going with another 1/3 of a cup here. So again, and I did put on the recipe, you'll most likely need to put it in the fridge for about 30 minutes to harden. And then the balls are a lot easier to roll. But I do want to show you like rolling the ball and then putting the coconut on top if that's what something you're interested in. So again, I'm gonna add a lot more flour in here so I can do that for you. So don't follow me if you don't want to make as many balls as I'm gonna make. So I'm actually gonna put 2/3 cups in here. So maybe I'll edit my recipe so if you want to just make the balls like this, I'll let you know how much flour I put in. So far I probably put probably 1.5 cups of flour in here, but we're now getting to the consistency here. It's kind of like a cookie dough consistency, right? A little thicker, able to kind of pick up with your hands and roll into balls. So I'm about 1.5 cups, a little wet still to roll into balls. They stick to my hands a little too much. It tastes really good. So I'm gonna probably do 2 full cups in here. A little bit more. So if you want to follow along with me, I recommend 2 cups of any flour that you use. We like almond flour, but you can use oat flour, well, we got some flax seeds in here too if you need a little more of that in your life. All right, so this is a pretty good consistency. You can tell it's more cookie dough. It's probably a little wet still, so I probably would put it in the fridge. I might just make 1 ball for you guys here and then put it in the fridge and let mine harden a little bit after. All right, so the next thing you want to do, the fun part that you see the store a lot in the snack aisles, right, is we're gonna roll it in coconut flakes. So I get a bowl, just a small one for now, and I'm just gonna put coconut flakes on the bottom. I said to have a cup ready. It just depends on what you want. So I'm just gonna put a little bit down there for now because I'm gonna put mine in the fridge. What you wanna do is whatever size ball you want, you can make smaller ones, or if you want some bigger ones, but I'm gonna roll it. This is actually not too bad of a consistency. You can tell it didn't stick too much to my hands. I got a little on my thumb. So I rolled it, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna roll it into this mixture here. And you kind of have to press a little bit. So press around, get that in there. It depends on how much coconut you want. I love coconut, so I'm gonna put a decent amount. I might use more than a cup, but hopefully you have a lot. And so then what you do is you kind of got, they're a little bigger pieces, so what you'll need to do is kind of roll it into a ball again here. It's kind of an art form, whatever you want it to look like. And so here's what mine looks like. Looks like a nice rolled ball. So what you can do, and in the picture I got a little lazy, you can take this coconut, you can put it in the blender, you can blend it up to make it smaller. Or you can put it on your cutting board and use your knife to make it smaller and a little more finer, so you don't have as big flakes on here. But for now, I'm gonna use the flakes. But this is what it looks like. So if you want to, and I might do that right now, I think I might roll all the balls, and then I'm gonna put it in a Tupperware and then put it in the fridge to let it harden. So either put your mixture from your bowl in the fridge and then roll, but it goes back in the fridge so they stay hard. And then throughout the week, we just put them in Tupperwares, or we have them in a little Ziploc bag and pack our lunch with them, and they're good to stay out of the fridge all day. But if you do have a fridge, you can definitely put them in there to keep them a little more together, but they're very delicious to eat. You know, you eat about 3-4 of them as a snack. You can make them a little bigger if you want, whatever size you want, but this is what they look like, so super good. All right, I'm just gonna set this off to the side for now and put my mixture in the fridge for a little bit. All right, so you can see we have a huge mess. Well, you probably can't really see my huge mess in my kitchen, but it's everywhere. So now I'm kind of gonna show you how I put together the meatballs for our meal prep. So I'm gonna put this off to the side first. So I'm gonna grab some Tupperwares. So we like glass Tupperwares. Try and stay away from the plastic. But we have a ton of these. We bought the Snapware glass ones. Steven's the square ones. I'm the circle ones, so we can tell the difference. And we like to put them all into separate containers throughout our week. So I'm gonna go grab my little Tupperwares now. All right, so I'm doing the meatballs right now, and those, I'm only making 8 meals for our week, since we really only eat our prep dinners Monday through Thursday. So I normally do these square ones, or no, Steven does the square, I normally am the circle ones, so we can tell the difference between our meals. Steven usually eats a little more than me. And so what I do is I'm going to, hopefully this isn't too hot, let's see. It's cooled down. So I've got the meatballs, slide them at the end here. So we made about 48, so depending on how many you made. They're really good. Wow, I think you'll like these. All right, so about 48, if I do math in my head, which I cannot, and my phone's right here, so I can't do a calculator. I'm going to give Steven, what's 5 times 420? I'm going to give Steven about 6 meatballs for his dinner. So I'm just going to throw the meatballs in here. 6 for him. And we have lots of other snacks for our week too. We buy a lot of fruit, so for dinner we're always snacking on fruit. And we've always got some avocados ready to go. So, all right. I think about 6 meatballs. I might have some extra for him over there, so we'll see where we end up. And then if we were not working from home as much, I'm working from home full time. Steven's working from home a couple days a week right now still with everything with COVID. So I would have made the veggie soup for the week. So I would have steamed a ton of broccoli, and not fully steamed because we are going to microwave it, but I would have steamed it in my Instapot or on the pan for about half the time that you normally steam veggies, so keep it a little bit hard. And I would have put just the veggies right here on the side with the meatballs too. If you want rice with them or pasta, you could put the pasta down first and put the meatballs on top. So whatever you want, but this week we're doing a little light. We've been doing some heavy weekend eating, so we kind of eat a little less throughout the week. So I have the meatballs all in here for Steven. And what I'll do then is I'm gonna take the sauce. I'm gonna get a spoon here. So we've got our nice sauce here. And what I'm gonna do, and what will be really good is with the veggies too. So this week we'll probably just steam veggies, like I said, as we eat it at night. So I'm gonna steam them, but then you can still have the sauce with your veggies. So, you know, you can use a measuring cup or estimate. This is a pretty decent amount of sauce, so I'm not too scared I'm gonna run out. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna pour the sauce over the meatballs. Just pour it right over them. And you can taste test your sauce. Make sure you like it, because if you don't like it, don't put it on your meatballs. But this is gonna be really good. And it might make the meatballs a little soggy, so if you don't want to add the sauce on top till after you heat them up, you can do that too. So this is pretty much what it's going to look like this week for us. A little lighter because we're going to make veggies later, but it's all in here, the meatballs to eat with the sauce. And I recommend, if you're making the veggies too, is to save some sauce. I'm going to put some sauce into a smaller Tupperware, and then I'm gonna put it on top of the veggies after I make the veggies. So it's gonna be really good all together. I might make a little bit of rice to put in here too, but whatever you want. It's a little lighter meal. Very good. I'm very excited about that. So the meatballs turned out very well. And so our enchilada casserole here is probably cooled down enough. I can hold it with my hands, so pretty good. A little warm on the bottom still. So honestly, all you do is this, which I'm gonna move some of this stuff down here. If you have a small kitchen, it gets a little tough to do this, but find room, use your kitchen table, use other tables. So all I do with the casserole is I really cut it in half down the middle, and I have a metal spatula here, so you can use a knife to cut right down the middle. And the corn tortillas should pretty easily break down the middle. Kind of go across. And then depending on how big of pieces you want, you can give yourself 1 row, smaller pieces, and give your significant other if they need more pieces. But let's see, 1, 2. Try and make sure I'm making about 10 cuts here. So let's see, I'll show you how it looks when I take it out here. All right, I'm just gonna throw it in here. Kind of gets a little messy. Put some in there. It's not gonna be pretty, but it's really good. So here's what it looks like. It stays all together pretty well in here, but it also just becomes kind of a casserole in here. So that's pretty much what we do. Cut it up. I put it in separate Tupperwares. You could always store it in your fridge just in the casserole. Just throw some aluminum foil or plastic wrap on top. Put it in your fridge and just cut it and warm it up on a plate if you're working from home, so you don't have to do separate Tupperwares. I just like the separate Tupperwares because it's easy to just grab, go. So even working from home. But that's pretty much all our meals for the week. So we've got the vegan enchilada casserole, the firecracker meatballs or meatless balls, and then the banana balls that I made. Looks really good. I'm super excited about these ones. And so that's our food for the week. Pretty easy. What time is it? 12:23. A little longer this week with oven meals, but not too much longer. I'm gonna have some time to clean now and hopefully be done by 1. So thanks for watching this week. I will update the recipes and get the right ones out for the meatballs. I definitely missed some ingredients in there for you guys and the instructions. So thanks for watching, everyone. Have a great weekend. It's a nice day today. Get some sun. Thanks, everyone. Bye.